Hello, everyone. Welcome to the InstructLab community meeting for November 26, 2024. It's almost the end of the year. This is the Thanksgiving week, so happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate it. And before we get started on the main meeting agenda items, let's go through some of the housekeeping items. Let's see. Where's my cursor? Oops. Okay, so all our meetings are governed by the InstructLab Community Code of Conduct. Be nice and kind to each other. And our meetings are recorded, as I mentioned, and we will post the recordings to the InstructLab YouTube channel. If you prefer not to be on camera, that's fine. Please feel free to join with your cameras off, or you can also dial in via the phone, and it's up to you. If you're using the Google Meet, please use the raise hand function to ask questions. If you're on the phone, you can try to jump in at the appropriate time. And if you, of course, there's also the chat function in Google Meet that you can use to chat, discuss things, or raise your questions that way. The chat transcript, if there's any during the meeting, will be published together, actually linked from these meeting notes after the meeting. And at the end of every meeting, we have an attendee list. Feel free to add your names there with your GitHub or social handle. We just like to know who are attending our meetings, and especially any newcomers, we're happy to welcome you and have you to join our meetings, and we appreciate that. But it's optional. You can add your name or not. It's up to you. All right, let's get started with the main meeting agenda. I have a list here of CFP reminders. As you know, there's a lot of events already happening real soon in the early part of next year. Some of the main ones just had the end of their call for proposal period over in the last 2 weeks, but we still have some that's coming up. In 3 days, there's this Open Data Science Conference East. I believe it's in Boston. Yep. So that's the CFP deadline for that. FOSDEM is a main, one of the biggest open source events in Europe. They have 68 dev rooms, each of them having their own call for paper, call for presentation. So check the list if you haven't already. Take a look at what topic interests you. You can, and I actually encourage people to submit same talks to different dev rooms to increase your chances of getting accepted, because sometimes a talk can be relevant to, let's say, both Python and AI dev room. It's just an example, but there's many different combinations, so feel free to do that. Each dev room have their own CFP process and deadlines. Most of them that I've checked have it around November 30th, December 1st, but do check carefully for the ones that you're interested in, because each of them is different. We do have it's quite a relatively recently announced event, All Things Open AI. They are having the event, I think, early next year, instead of the regular All Things Opens usually in the third quarter or fourth quarter, but this AI event is in the first half of the year, and their call for papers is due on December 6th. This is in Durham, so those of you in the Raleigh-Durham area, this will be a good event to attend and maybe do a presentation. And finally, we have this software architecture and machine learning workshop that is also having a CFP a bit later next month, but I'm just putting it there so you're aware of it. Any comments or questions, or anything missing that you think we should add there for the community to be aware of?
I will just pipe up and say that our dear friends, Seven Muir and Cedric Clyburn, have already submitted a couple of proposals to the low-level AI hacking and engineering dev room, specifically around synthetic data generation. And they've already gotten some responses from the dev room organizers asking for more feedback and yes, put Podman AI Lab in the title. So I think that that is a very positive indication that we will have some InstructLab news to share at FOSDEM. But film at 11 when we know more.
Yep. We'll definitely also share any accepted talks so that you can keep an eye out for them at the events. Cool, thanks. All right, let's move on. We have a bunch of new videos released in the past week. Many of them thanks to Legree and the TMM team for making these videos. So the InstructLab 101, oh, there we go. Legree is on that one. Taylor on which LLM is right for you. With LLMs, does size matter? Featuring Cedric. Open source AI is community-built AI with Frank explaining it. This one is the talk that JJ and I did at All Things Open in October. The recording was just released. And then Grant and his team did a What's New InstructLab 0.21 release. So please check them out and share them on your social channels. It's not just InstructLab Social that's doing the promotion, word of mouth. You know, all of you can help and share with your networks what we're doing here in InstructLab. Any comments, questions about this content? Yeah, in various, this, I think the first couple is on Red Hat YouTube channel. The last one is on InstructLab YouTube channel. But I try to add all these into different playlists that we have as well. So it's easier to keep track of them. Cool. We have a very interesting topic, I think. Oh, okay, Oleg, you're here. That's good. We have this proposal idea to move from Slack to Discord. Mo Duffy mentioned in the community channel, if you followed on the InstructLab Slack workspace, that she kind of announced it, shared it yesterday, and then I just pulled it over to GitHub discussions because, as we know, the Slack history does go away after a while because we have this, we're using a free instance. But I did go through some of the, we've discussed some of this previously, and I proposed like this rollout plan, but I also would like perhaps Oleg to give some, you know, to talk about it from your point of view, what's going on, what has been done, and what's the plan going forward.
Okay, thank you, Carol. Yeah, so essentially Slack is just, we wanted it to work, but it's not very friendly towards like communities. They make it very difficult for us to access past history, which is probably not the best for newcomers who want to learn more about what has been said in the past. So we're moving over to Discord. So we put together a number of issues that I think Carol has done a pretty good job of describing. I also have a Google Doc, which is not in this thread because this was posted after I had made it. But what I did is I went through like all of the references to Slack in our upstream GitHub. And so once we have cleared like that Discord is in fact the approved platform that we'll be moving to, that everything checks out, we can go through and we can actually start updating everything. I think for most of the things, they're just references to the upstream Slack that just say, hey, join this channel to talk about this thing. There were a few actual integrations that we had though. So that one is probably the more, I would say, intensive. It's still not like terribly complicated. It's just, we'll need to replace some of our GitHub actions that post currently notifications to Slack with ones that just post it to Discord. I think one thing that we'll need to figure out when we do this migration is how we actually plan out the channels, because currently in our Slack, we have a large number of channels. And I know for Discord communities in particular, like the most popular ones do not have a crazy amount. So we'll probably need to have a discussion on how we can balance that, especially if we want to migrate over existing users and topics. But I'm sure that there's a way that we could actually make it work for all parties. So that'll probably just be something that we need to discuss further on this thread.
Right, right. It's definitely possible to, let's say, consolidate channels and things like that, as long as, if we have a different corresponding channel, we just make sure that people are aware where to look, updating both the Slack channel topics as well as the guides that we have on GitHub. But I think in the first place, before we get to that, implementation details, we'll need to decide if this is the way we want to go. And I invite Leslie to maybe speak, from more of also the oversight committee. What does there has been discussion about these communication channels for a long time.
Hi.
So yeah.
These are my personal views and do not represent the views of the Oversight Committee, because I am not speaking on behalf of the Oversight Committee right now, or excuse me, our steering committee. So I do not care what communication tool we use for the project. It's yet another site for me to log into. That is absent from my concerns. My two concerns are, the problem we seem to be trying to solve is that we are losing project history, which I agree is a concern. Absolutely. But we also have mailing list archives that are empty of messages that we are not using. And email is something that literally any human being on this planet can access, regardless of being in a highly regulated industry, regardless of, I know many academics who still live and die by old school listservs sent to them via post office, etc. So there is a tool available that can help us preserve history if our biggest concern is preserving history. My secondary concern is we have 1,000 people in the InstructLab Slack. If we're saying Slack isn't working for the community, where did those 1,000 people come from? And if we're gonna, and are we going to lose them? And if we're gonna lose them, do we care? Also good questions. And then the third point I would make is, I understand that there is a huge AI focused set of Discord channels available. I get that there are folks who care about AI on Discord. Are they, what do we think we're going to get out of reaching out to them on a different platform? I'm sure there's a lot, and I'm just not thinking about it. This is a genuine request for feedback. And then my fourth point is, my understanding is that our target is enterprise developers. It is not your typical AI bro. I think enterprise developers are more comfortable using Slack for their day-to-day work. It's the tool that's used in all of the upstream software foundations, like all of the Linux Foundation projects, etc. So if we're going to move to a different tool, that's cool. Should we shut down our less optimal existing tool if that's another way to meet people where they are? I don't know, and maybe everyone has already thought about this and I just don't know what has been thought.
So I can try to answer at least a few of those. I think the last one, I probably don't have the most amount of information to answer, but I think to the point about the email archive, I think that's an excellent idea if we want to keep that going. I think in terms of exporting data from Slack, I've been told at least having a bridge is against their terms of service because they don't want you to be able to kind of circumvent that. And so my concern about the emails would be it's yet another form of violation of their terms of service. So we just need to, I would say, double check. But I would think that that's a good way to also archive stuff. I don't know if would we want for the email archive, would that be a replacement to migrating over to Slack, or would that just be an auxiliary thing?
So what I have seen done in the past with some success is a conversation is had about a thing. Maybe that conversation takes place in a real-time chat medium. For me, it was IRC. I know I'm old. Sometimes it's someone has a chat around the snack bin in, the third floor kitchen, and everybody has a really great conversation, and then they all figured out, here is how we solve the problem, which is great for the people who were hanging out in IRC And it was great for the people who were in the third floor kitchen. It was not great for everybody else. So then the onus was on everyone to, and it felt very forced, but to say, so Jane, Bob, and I were just, getting together over a Diet Coke when we realized that the solution to this problem that has been plaguing us at issue 943 is actually to send carrier pigeons to Tibet. So we have decided that we have allocated a budget for carrier pigeons and are releasing them on Friday. If anyone thinks this is a bad idea, please let us know by Wednesday, because by then the carrier pigeons will have arrived and we don't have a place to make sure that they can hang out for 2 days before Friday, right? Like, here's the problem, here's the context, here's the solution that we arrived at it ourselves. Time boxing when we're going to take action on that, and request for comment period open, right? That's for when a technical decision is made and communicating that. For like the things we're losing in our project history, like user experiences error wants to paste us awesome error log. This helps us for debugging purposes later. This helps us to understand how to improve docs later, et cetera, et cetera. Typically what I have seen is people get herded to a mailing list. Like, that's a really great question. Thanks for asking it here. We're going to help you quickly, but can you also send this to the mailing list saying, I'm getting help at upstream Slack, but I wanted my logs preserved? Then just making sure the person actually goes and does it, right? And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. You can just ask. But that is another way of preserving history, is just making the onus on the person who is saying, I am giving you the gift of my bug report to say, please preserve your bug report in the following fashion. And it may be that the decision is to keep preserving that. And every time someone has a problem with a build, they file an issue in GitHub. That could be an answer, or they send that error log to the mailing list. It depends on how the project wants to operate. I guess maybe, like, I have a different question. Oh, like, what is the history you're worried we're losing?
Oh, so just in general, like, if I think it kind of goes and relates to more of the bug reports, like those, like for me, whenever I am struggling with an issue, what I'll do, like either on Slack or Discord, I'll just Command F and I'll just search through the entire server for like keywords, and I'll say like, oh, like training failed, and I'll like put in like specific keywords of the error, and then I'll find like messages that way. Another thing is that like sometimes we'll have IBMers that are working on like very domain specific projects that provide like very valuable implementation like details that not many people like often do. And so those are just like a few of the things that like we'll maybe want to save or archive. I see what you mean about the mailing lists. The one thing I'll say to that, I think the mailing list in the way that you're describing it, I think it's fundamentally different. Not fundamentally, but there's some overlap between how that would be used versus like how Slack and Discord are used. I think there is a difference though, which is the for mailing lists, it sounds like that's very good for like technical discussions on like, oh, this is actually how we're going to implement like this new training feature. Whereas like on Discord, it's more of like somebody comes in, like they just want to learn about the project, like they kind of expect quick answers. They want to be able to like chat with other community members, like maybe not about anything super serious. And so it's just, they're different vibes. And I can see a world in which we have both. I am of the belief that we should have both, but maybe others disagree.
Speaking in my not steering committee member capacity, I definitely think we should have both. Then the question becomes staffing it, because we're already struggling to keep up with the questions we have incoming from users in Slack in a timely fashion. So if we create another channel, then when will the cavalry arrive?
Yeah, that's a good point. I will say also to that end, I think the problem with Slack is just that it's very work centric. And so like typically I don't see a lot of people switching between the instances. I try to. I think it's just hard because I'm kind of just keeping that one instance for the upstream. I think on Discord, there's a power of concentration, which is like a lot of the upstream communities exist there. So like if I want to like ask a message in like the Hugging Face server, I can just go ahead and like quickly switch to that and ask that. And then it's like, I think the other difference is just because they're on two different platforms. If I'm doing work stuff like Red Hat internal stuff, like I'm gonna get a specific ping that I know is from Slack. But then if somebody from the community is pinging me, then it's like a different, like I get the Discord notification. So I know, oh, this is a community member. Like this is probably important. Let me go see what this is. So it's like, that's just one other mental thing that kind of helps me. I know that that's not like a big thing, but in my opinion, it's one of those things that adds up to a lot.
I want to make sure that I've heard you correctly. There is the primary benefit is to diminish the context switch hit from jumping from one service to another service to another service to another service because you need to get a question answered. Okay.
No, so you are still going to have to do a context switch. What I'm saying is like, if you associate all Slack notifications with work, then the ones that are community related are still going to be drowned out because it's like the same Slack notification. So your mentality towards like addressing Slack notifications might be the same, and like that community member might not have somebody reach them for a while. But if they are two distinct like notifications, you will have a higher likelihood of actually addressing that one because you know what it is and it's not something that's work related. At least for me, like that's how it works. And I typically just have Discord open anyway. But I know other people are different. So I don't want to be the voice for everybody.
So my hot take, in the absence of any data whatsoever and knowing that I am making a ton of bad assumptions, is we've got a Discord server stood up. I think that it would be terrific to like advertise it and tell people, hey, we're hanging out over here now too. And see, like, does that cause us a huge influx of humans we like and who we want to help and serve, which it would be a wonderful problem to have. I'm certainly not going to complain about that. And just, I assume we're probably going to need to just, like now, be in all the places. But then the question is, who on the InstructLab dev team who have very aggressive product deadlines to meet is also going to like hang out over in Discord? And if the answer is, hey, LH, we were already hanging out there, like, good, that sounds great.
That's a very good question. And I have to agree. Like, I do think that that would be a good problem to have if we're getting that much traffic. I can volunteer myself as tribute as one of the people. I mean, that was going to be the case anyway. But I'll definitely be hanging out there. I don't know about other people. Yeah, no, I agree with that entire plan.
So if what I'm hearing is, let's advertise that the Discord, that we have a Discord thing and it exists. We can do that on social media. We can do that on our project pages and update them saying we have another communication channel, Life is Groovy, and see who shows up to the party. And if we discover we need to time box it. I feel like, and again, this is where other people should keep me honest, I feel like hoping that we would see any kind of change in our usage patterns in the month of December is kind of silly. Because again, most enterprise developers are probably like everyone else in an enterprise, and the month of December is for repenting your sins from the past year in terms of like unspent budget and blah, 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 blah. Maybe that's just disconnected manager talk. And then like determine if it is something which we should cut over to, or if it is yet another way for people to reach out and engage with us so that we're meeting people where they are, because we know we need to meet people where they are.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So like what is, so as someone who does not fluently speak Discord, I am in one whole Discord for American expats in Germany. It does not help us with our AI questions. What is a reasonable period of time to see who shows up to the party and how we can serve them? Is that 3 months? Is that we need to give it 6? I have no idea how quickly these platforms take off.
I mean, what would you guess just based on like existing knowledge? Because I am not an OSPO and I don't have the wisdom that you do.
Oh, that's so kind of you. I have no wisdom, but I appreciate I like that I have you snowed.
That's a great word, Oleg. Osbonian.
I would say, why don't we you know what? I propose the following experiment. Why don't we take the temperature in the middle of February, because we're going to have 2 big events focused around AI, at which we know we are at least going to attempt to talk about InstructLab. One is All Things Open AI happening in Raleigh, and then we have FOSDEM in February. If after those 2 events, and I hope that I am not misremembering the date for All Things Open AI, I probably am. But if after those 2 events, we can just take a temperature check, like these were the 2 events at which we told everybody we have all of the places, come to our Slack. Don't like Slack, we've got Discord. And see if there is a measurable uptake in Discord based on promoting these things in person at events, and also mentions on our social media channels saying there is another place to hang out, come say hi to Oleg, etc. We won't actually say come say hi to Oleg. We don't want to put you on the spot. All Things Open AI is in March. Thank you, Carol, for helping my Swiss cheese brain. So, like, take a measure at the end of Q3. I think that's reasonable. Or take a measure at the end of Q1. That will be a little over 3 months, not including January, or not including December. Brain going faster than Leslie can talk. And I think that that's like a reasonable place to do a check-in. Alina thinks the timeline is reasonable. Huzzah! Thank you, Alina.
Yeah, I think I would have to concur with Alina.
Okay. All right. I think that that is very reasonable. All right. So, Carol, we OSPOians will commit to doing a temperature check at the end of Q1 and figure out what our traffic patterns look like. And the other thing that I would just note too, to any folks in the room who are excited about this, like, we go forth. We OSPO humans will do whatever we can to support you, but we can do best effort until we have more humans on board, which will happen next year. Yay. And if we do come to the conclusion, like, this is not giving us a lot of value, that doesn't mean we have to shut it down. If we reach the one right person who happens to wander through Discord, that's fine too, right? We're not paying for it. It's just a matter of all of you on the dev team who would be interacting in these spaces, not having your attention fractured across multiple instances to the point where you're getting distracted from your project work, your product work, or you'll, right? Yet another communication channel to me sounds like more overhead, but it doesn't sound like it's more overhead for you, and I don't want to tell you what your experience is.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Carol, we will converse about how to advertise all the things, and it will be very exciting. And you have your hand up, and I'm talking over you, and I am sorry.
No, it's okay. That was my kind of concern. So in this period of 4 months that we're trying to kind of have a feel of how things might work in Discord land, how would that look? Because, like, do we then want to actively say that we have this Discord server and get people to sign up and join? Or do we just kind of, because we will need to let people know there is a Discord server before we can get, see, or should we just, before we even do that, ask on Slack, like, say, hey, how many people have Discord account and use it regularly for the various projects and stuff, and see from there, out of 1,000 users, is it like 500 who use Discord and have Discord accounts, or is it 10? We don't know yet right now. We're just making a lot of assumptions. So, because if we want to migrate 1,000 people over, of course, sure, we'll lose some people along the way, those who are inactive or whatever, but we want to keep a good number, right? Let's say we put a bar at 500, but do we even have that kind of momentum if we, I mean, and the easiest way to do that is to poll the current users on Slack before, trying to invite everybody over there and see if how many goes over. Because once you have like a good number of people over in Discord, they will expect responses and help and support in both channels, because we haven't closed down Slack yet. So
yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, we could do that. We could also set it up so that we just advertise both. At least when I say advertise, I mean we just publish like both links. Like, oh, here's our Slack, here's our Discord, and then I'll say one anecdote. I think Leslie wanted to say something too. I remember when OpenAI was like, this was like before ChatGPT, but they used to have just a Slack, and it wasn't like super active, but like to the people who used it, it really mattered. I remember when they stopped paying for it, they just shut down the entire instance, and there were a bunch of people just in their like discuss forums being like, hey, like what happened to Slack? Like, how do we communicate? And then when they finally created a Discord, like a bunch of people joined because of the natural tendency to like want some communication channel. I'm not sure how much that relates here, but I'll just leave that.
So I should raise my hand. I'm sorry that I did not raise my hand. So I think it is important that we do like a poll. Hi, everybody who's already here. Are you on Discord? Would you be happier over there? By the way, exit stage right to Discord if that's what you wish. The trouble with polling those folks is that tells us about people who are already involved, right? They already showed up. They already said hello. They already said they were interested. And I think that part of the goal here is to extend our reach to audiences who we have not already got on board with us, right? So I think we should definitely do what you said, Carol, to sort of assess the current landscape, because we may be shocked and find out that all 1,000 of our Slack members are all avid Discord users and are very angry to use Slack.
Right.
And then we should advertise it as one of the main, like as one of the project communication channels. So, and then as far as like, you know, how are we promoting it? I think it becomes like yet another thing that we put in all of our normal collateral, right? Like, join the community. Here's InstructLab AI. Here's the Slack. Here is the Discord. We love you. Come and hang out with us, and then see where is the uptick. If we have no one joining either thing after our conference presentations and our promotion on social media, that tells us one thing. If we have everybody flocking to Discord and suddenly our Slack numbers drop drastically, that tells us another thing. If we get a lot of uptake in each, then that tells us more load balancing is an effective thing to do between the two platforms. So
yeah, let me share this. So this is how our Slack user numbers have grown over time. I haven't had the latest update, which should show above 1,000, but yeah, so you can see usually it's the initial part, right? With the summit announcement and IBM Think, that's the main growth that happened between April and May. And then of course it tails off usually after that. But if we can, within the first I would say 3 months at least, because we do have the holidays coming up, and that's usually a very low period of activity. But within 3 months, if we can get a similar kind of growth, that would be good. So just sharing that.
I'm here and put up some links, tell people to preach the good word in and we'll at the end of Q1 we'll be like, so here's what we figured out.
Okay.
The one thing that I will note that OSPO is not currently staffed to do, and I would love to believe that when we open Recs for additional community architect support in come January, that we will be able to say on February 1st, look at all these nice new people we have hired. Since I cannot guarantee that, we're going to need to be able to lean on the dev team to help us with like metrics and analytics and all of that stuff. And maybe the answer is there's already a super cool package that is really easy to use, and we just push a button and here are all your metrics.
Yeah, there is they do actually have a feature for analytics. I believe it's gated based on certain conditions. I'm actually logging in now to check exactly what it is.
It's 500 members. Sorry to interrupt, but it's.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
That's why I say 500 is almost like the magic number.
Yeah, and I'm sure that we can actually just get the data like from a simple like Python script that we can put together too, like under the 500 user count if we just want to like be able to plot out the graphs.
Okay. There's probably some script or bot that can help with that can track number of users joining and
Yeah,
number
the
of
one nice
messages.
thing about Discord is that their API is very, very easy to use. So, like, that's definitely something we can just throw together if it doesn't already exist.
Mhm. Yeah, I need to look more into Discord integrations because I haven't used it that much. But yeah, maybe that's something we could work on together.
I would love to.
All right,
Great.
cool. I think we have some ideas of what to do going forward, at least for the next 3 months. What to do and what kind of things we want to kind of measure and then make decisions upon after that. Is there any other comments on this Slack versus Discord discussion before we move on, because we do have a couple of other topics as well? And also please put your comments if you have on the GitHub issue, so that we can have that recorded somewhere more readily accessible for the discussion. Thanks. All right, Julia, would you like to talk about this upstream taxonomy UI update?
Sure. Yeah, I have put a couple of updates. So the upstream UI, we are most likely going to be canceling the weekly UI community meeting tomorrow. I 95% chance, like Brent's on PTO tomorrow. We're just waiting on confirmation from Anil to officially cancel it. But we will announce that once we get confirmation from him. I know, me too, Oleg. But a lot of people are on PTO, and I don't think there's anything urgent enough to warrant Brent disrupting his PTO to come join the call. And then so the next release of the UI will be in early January. They're working to finalize that date. It's gonna probably be around the 9th, but again, working to finalize it, and that will be announced as soon as it's finalized. And then if you're curious about what's going to be included in that release, check out the UI repository and the Slack channel as well. It's a lot of UX design improvements, some examples added, and bug fixes as well. And then taxonomy updates, meetings, similar. So JJ is actually out this entire week. So the taxonomy meetings aren't happening. They will resume December 2nd, and those are daily at 4 p.m. EST. We are working on Q&A YAML writing documentation, so that should be coming out soon. And so, I've been mentioning this UI. Something that's integrated in the UI is this super cool open source tool called Dockling. It's an IBM open source tool. It converts PDFs and different document types to Markdown and different formats as well. But obviously Markdown is the one we are concerned with. And that project's actually been super successful over the last couple months. And they actually have a bunch of features already added to it that helps our document conversion and benefits our project. So I'm working with them this week to come up with any other features that would help InstructLab. An example of that is they have a feature that will remove all the footnotes from the document. and that actually produces a much cleaner result than trying to teach the model a document that has, 75 footnotes. So features like that are actually super helpful in model performance. So I've been working on that, and that's fantastic. They're a great team. Definitely check it out if you're interested in document conversion stuff. Cool. And then the last thing, so I will be transitioning off of taxonomy. I know, super sad. I've actually just been on this project as like a helper. I'm a kernel engineer, for you new folks who don't know that. So I'll be going back to my low level work. Finally get to stop working at Markdown files, which is exciting. So I'll be doing that, but December will be like a transition month. It's a short month anyway. And I'm very involved in so many parts of this project. And I have been since January. Like a lot of this stuff I own just because I was here at the beginning of the project. So it definitely won't be like one day she's here, one day she's not, because that's not possible because of how many things I own and am involved with in this project. But I just want to give everyone a heads up about that. I will continue to remain as a maintainer for taxonomy as long as needed. That's very common with transitions. I'm actually still a maintainer for a team I left like 6 months ago. Yes, Leslie?
I did not wish to interrupt you, ma'am. But
Oh no, I'm basically done.
okay. First of all, we are very sad to see you go and very excited about the new wonderful adventures before you. Is there, in terms of transitioning from the many things that you have on your plate since you were here from the very beginning, if there is a way that Team OSPA's new humans that start in January or real soon after January can help to ease that for you, please do let us know so that we can support you in that transition.
Perfect, will do. Yeah, that's another reason the transition will be slow, definitely slower than expected. Because we were hoping to have taxonomy engineers hired a couple months ago. Definitely by the time that I have to transition. So we're definitely gonna have to, come up with some placeholders and, like I'll definitely just have to still be doing some things until we have the new hires. But I can sync with you guys on that. Carol?
Yeah, sorry about my video. I'm having problems, but yeah, we're really sad to have you leave us. I know it's not right away, but still, you have done so much for the project. So if there's anything we can help you with to make this transition smoother, just let us know. And thanks for everything you've done. And again, great job at Tech Exchange, the keynote. I think we'll miss things like that, having you in the project.
Thanks. Yeah, the good news is I'm still definitely, it's real AI, so I'm still around.
Right.
And I'm also able to contribute on this project since it's open source. I can join the community in my off hours.
That's great to hear. I do have a question about the Dockling community.
Yeah.
Do you know if they have like a chat channel? I know they have a GitHub discussion board on their repo, but do you know if they have a chat platform they use for real time, and if not, is it something that maybe we can have a channel in our Slack and Discord servers for Dockling discussions? Thanks.
Yes, they do, but I'm not sure like what it is for like the community. Like I know there's like a smaller chat with some of the people and then like with the SDG people who are working with them super closely. But I will figure out, for a community person, like what the best, place to chat or whatever that is. I'll figure that out and let you know, Carol.
Thanks.
Could you repeat the question? I'm
Oh,
actually
Colin, yes,
I'm
Colin
here.
knows the answer. So for Dockland, Colin, is there a Slack channel? I know like you guys have a smaller thing.
Yeah, we have a private one where we talk to them.
Is there a non-private one for community people?
I don't know. I mean, they're actually an open source project themselves, so
Yeah, that's what I was not sure about and wanted.
they
Okay, I can
should
check.
have. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, because there have been people asking questions on our Docklink post from the InstructLab LinkedIn account. I pointed them to the GitHub repo with the GitHub discussions, but I wasn't sure if there's a place they can chat.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, like as Dockling community builds up a ton,
Right.
because Colin, like it seems like their community's been building up a lot and been super successful.
Yeah, no, they've been getting a lot of traction.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I don't think they have much of a. They don't have like a landing zone for the community outside of like the GitHub discussions.
Right, agreed.
Yeah, Leslie
Yeah.
just sent the link as well.
But it could be time to maybe think about that. There could be a huge benefit in somehow linking that community with this one.
Yep, definitely.
But so I can talk to them about that.
All right, thanks.
For sure. Yeah, community people, Leslie and Carol, did you guys, we should probably have a meeting before I, transition off. Are you guys working tomorrow or do you want to just do it next week?
We're not based in the US, so I'm happy to meet tomorrow.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ditto. As a
Yeah.
as a former Thanksgiving celebrator turned, there is no Libby's canned pumpkin pie filling to be had here. I know it's sad, very sad. We will totally be around whenever is useful for you.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right, perfect. Yeah,
Thank you.
just like wrap up any, taxonomy community stuff.
Cool. Thank you so much, Julia.
You guys are stuck with JJ now. Sorry.
It's definitely not the worst, but we'll miss you. All right. Any comments or questions for Julia about taxonomy and what she has said so far?
Yeah, and similar to maintainer, like I'm probably going to be the only taxonomy SME for a while still. Like any new hires are still going to have to get onboarded for a bit before they're a SME.
Right.
So I will still be answering questions if I'm ever tagged.
All right. Okay, we have 3 minutes left. Yes, welcome to Courtney.
I'll turn on my camera.
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, so I just rejoined Red Hat. I was at Red Hat from 2015 to 2021, and my first day as like a new hire again was yesterday. So I'm going to be one of the new release engineers on InstructLab. I don't know much about InstructLab yet. I'm kind of getting my hands a little dirty with it, just kind of getting a feel for how everything kind of flows and looking through the repos and stuff like that. And hopefully I'll be able to be more involved like in future meetings, like hopefully like next week when I really kind of get a feel for how the repo and everything works.
Thanks, Courtney. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Well, I don't have all the answers, but I'm sure we can help you find the answers. And of course, the development team is always available to support your team.
Great.
So yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
She got a nice onboarding Slack full of links from Nathan yesterday. So she's definitely off to a good start.
Yep.
We can just openly appreciate Nathan now.
Yes.
He is all over it.
It was
We appreciate
beautiful.
him if you're not here.
All right. Appreciation for Nathan.
Yeah, it's work from home, Nathan. So he
Yeah.
can like concentrate on, you know, all the organizational, like that type of stuff.
Right. Cool. Okay. Any last minute open floor items? All right. Thank you, everyone. This has been a very fruitful discussion meeting, and we will see you next week. There will be no CLI meeting this Thursday because of the holidays, but we will have the regular community meeting on Tuesdays next week. So thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good Thanksgiving for those of you in the US. Bye-bye.
Thanks. So, see ya.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Bye.